Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing my wrap-up for May and my what's up for June. This is where I go through all the books I read in May and what I'm going to read in June. You probably already know that. May was an interesting month. It's kind of busy, kind of not busy. Finally, we're getting the spring weather here. We had like 2 weeks where it was cold again. Like we were wearing full-on jackets. I had to send the kids in like splash pants to school because I'm not getting the snow pants out again. But now we're like biking to school and it's nice and warm. I can wear a tank top again. So that is wonderful news. It is great for reading too because I always find I have more energy in like the springtime. Anyway, so I'm going to go through what I read this month, and I'm going to go through an order of what I liked the least and ending with my favorite book of the month. And then I'm going to talk about what I'm reading next month. So first we have The Exclusion Zone. This is the book I kind of enjoyed the least. I don't think it was a bad book at all. It just was a little bit slow. It's about a woman researcher, and she goes to the exclusion zone around Chernobyl, and she's doing research there into humans and fear and things like that. It's kind of a literary fiction. It's good. It's just kind of like takes a while to get going. And then there's Accidental Intelligence. This was one of the SPSFC 4 books that I read as a judge. It was good. It was a good like AI mystery story. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, all of these from this on I give like 4 stars. So except for the ones I gave 5 stars. So yeah, like really nothing wrong with it. It's just like AI stories aren't really my cup of tea unless it's like Terminator, take down the AI. Then we have Supergiants, which was a poetry collection that had a lot of experimental poems in it, and it was really fascinating. I just didn't really understand like the first half of the poems. Like I understood them, they weren't like my deal in terms of poetry. But I really loved the second half, which has like more kind of like typical poems, and I thought they were really good. Then there's Audition, which was a really harrowing, serious novel about prison and how prison is dehumanizing, basically, told in a very bonkers way. I thought it was really well done. I just didn't love it because it was so depressing. Swift and Sudden Exit. This book had some issues in terms of the time travel mechanics and some questions that went unanswered, but it was really fun. If you like sapphic sci-fi, sapphic time travel love stories, you should totally check it out. I thought it was great. Also, the cover is awesome. Esperance, this was another mystery. It was a sci-fi mystery about a mysterious woman and also a string of bizarre murders and the police who were trying to figure out what had happened and everything. It was really, really good. If you love like more speculative kind of sci-fi, because it wasn't really a sci-fi in the sense that anyone's out in space or it's set in the future, it's set like today, but there is a heavy sci-fi element to it. If you really like that kind of sci-fi rooted in reality, you'd really, really like this, I think. 1,000 Tiny Awakenings. This is another poetry collection. This is about Canadian poems about kind of oppression and kind of like what home means when you're living on stolen land. And it was really, really interesting and really kind of evocative. Some beautiful poems in there. I really enjoyed them. And then The Buffalo Hunter. This is the Stephen Graham Jones historical fiction horror book. It is a tour de force. It is really good. If you haven't read any of his, this is a good one to start with, I think. It is bloody, but all of his stuff is bloody. He's a horror writer. But it's also a really, really good historical fiction at the same time. It's really good. And then there is The Origins of Desire and Orchid Fens. This is a Canadian kind of literary kind of fantasy, not really, more kind of like has a fantastical element to it in that there's like a kind of folklore brought in. Really interesting about a Roma woman who is living in a small town and kind of like how the mining company there is like taking advantage of the town and the people and all this stuff. But it's also like a really good love story. Like that's kind of like what run through it. It's not a romance, but it has a very strong element of that. And I thought it was just really, really beautiful and really well done. I read it in like one sitting. And then we have my favorite book of the month. If you caught my review of that, I think a couple weeks back or last week, whenever I'm posting this, it's Bisection. This is a straight up sci-fi, has aliens in it. It has interesting alien cultures in it. I just loved it. I thought it was amazing. And I knew as soon as I read it, I'm like, this is going to be my favorite book of the month. I 100% know. And yeah, so those are all the books I read last month. All of them were really good. Exclusion Zone was pretty good. I also have a couple other books I wanted to mention, a couple shout outs. So there's 2 new books that came out, 2 self-published books. Raisin Bread, which is a very kind of far future story about this woman living on a space station, but then Earth Earth down below is kind of gone back to like pastoral roots. It's really interesting. So she ends up leaving the space station to go down there, and just like the world that's created is really fascinating, and the kind of mystery behind it was really good too. And then there's also Space Vampires, which is a comedy. It's like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy kind of, in that it's that kind of humor, very kind of dry, kind of ridiculous humor, very absurd. And it's about kind of a future where vampires have taken over, and there's also werewolves, but there's also humans too. It's like it features this like middle manager vampire guy who's tasked with like helping create a space station, I think, and it's just like very much like a workplace comedy at the same time too. I don't know, I think the characters were really fun. It was really cute. I don't know, it was a really fun book. Also, this book came out on the 27th, Jack Serpent. It's a fantasy novel by Emily Field, and it is just a really fun, good summer read fantasy. And it's about this like brooding anti-hero guy, Jack, and he's a Shriver, which is in this world, it is a kind of wizard. Wizard doesn't really fit the kind of genre this is, but like he's like a magical guy, and his job is to go around categorizing and cataloging kind of all the magical creatures and monsters and things, so the army and stuff can know how to deal with it. It's like an interesting concept. Anyway, so there's also these kind of witchy ladies or evil people in this book called Striga, and he is tasked with hunting one down as she has performed a very, very bad murder, and he needs to figure out why. And he teams up with this kind of like woodsy lady, and there's a bit of a romance, and then there's some really fun like side characters and stuff, and there's like evil crocodiles and dudes, and like it's like really fun. I also think the cover's really pretty. So anyway, there's that one, and then there's another one that I want to talk about that is nonfiction. It's called Uncredited. It's really cool. It's about women's overlooked, misattributed, and stolen work. You can see it right there on the thing. And basically it's a collection of like 650 women, all of whom you probably should have heard of because they've done great things in history and in science and in basically in every field you can think of, from journalism to medicine to army, whatever. They've done it, but you haven't heard of them because their work was either stolen or given to a man, things like that. So it'll make you really mad, but it'll also make you really kind of hopeful and for the future, the fact that women's work isn't getting stolen from them, at least not as much. So yeah, if you're into nonfiction, if you're into feminism, this is a really good one. It's a big beast. That came out early May. It's also really pretty. So yeah, I was thankful to get copies of those. I am affiliated with the authors, which is why they aren't getting full reviews. So that's why. But yeah, I wanted to shout them out. So, what am I reading in June? I've got a good collection here. I have read a couple of them already. I'm just reviewing them next week. The first is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. I went out and actually purchased it on hard copy after I listened to it on Audible. I have never, ever done that. I just loved it that much. So that's going to be a very positive review actually coming on Monday. I did actually finish it last weekend because I listened to the whole thing in one weekend, but I didn't want to give Bisection's book of the month to another book. I was being strategic. Also, I didn't have time to film anything. I actually forgot to film this, and I'm filming it like last minute, which is why my hair is kind of messy. But that's okay. So that you're going to be in that review next week. Yeah, it's going to be a fun review, and I will provide some critiques, but basically it'll be me fangirling over stuff. So there's going to be that. Then I'm going to be reading This Princess Kills Monsters, which is a kind of fun, like fairy tale folklore kind of mix-mashed kind of bit of, it's funny, like it's kind of more tongue-in-cheek funny than funny, but it's like following this character and kind of the bizarre situation she finds herself in, and it's interesting. Yeah, I'll be reviewing that one next week too. Then I'm going to be reviewing A Study in Cold Brew, which is a novella. It's a sci-fi mystery. I've read a few of Mary Hallett's books before. I've reviewed them on the channel, and so I'm looking forward to this one because it's kind of a standalone out of her other Calibri Mysteries series. So this one's will be fun because you can kind of read it on its own, and I still have to get to that one, but I will. Next, I'm going to be reading Death on the Caldera. I actually got a NetGalley of this. I talked about this one back in December when I did my most anticipated books of the year because I love trains and I love volcanoes and things like that. And this is a book about a train crash near a volcano with a murder mystery. And I will say I have started it because I forgot to email myself the copy of Studying Cold Brew when I went away on vacation on the weekend, and I needed to read something, so I was like, well, next on the list is this, and now I'm like addicted to it, so I really like it. So I'll be reviewing that one I think on the 10th or 11th. And then we've got Time of the Cat, which is a SPSFC 4 book that I have listened to on Audible a while ago. I just have not got around to filming the review for it. I'll be reviewing that. And then I got approved for a copy of Tusk Love, which is from Critical Role. I actually have not listened to the podcast, but I have watched all of the Vox Machina show, and I absolutely loved it. And this book was referenced in that show, and so I was like, what? So I requested on NetGalley, and I got approved, so I'm going to be reviewing that. I'm sure it'll be fun. I'm also going to be doing an old school science fiction, a classic sci-fi. I have not decided which yet. I'm looking at my shelves. That's not going to help me. I don't know why I'm doing that. I'm going to be reviewing one of those because I didn't get to one this month and I was so sad. I just had so many SPSFC books to get through, and anyway. There's also a book I'm going to be reviewing, a nonfiction called Is the River Alive? It's an eco-fiction. It's an eco-nonfiction about ecology, environmentalism, and sustainability, the stuff that I am really, really interested in. And then I have a book that actually just came out, but I don't know why I wasn't paying attention to the date, I guess, when I requested it. And they approved me, though, even though it was like 2 days before the book came out. And that is The Names. I had saw this book before, and I was like, I don't know about this. I'm not sure. And then I saw someone else review it on Instagram, I think, and it sounded really, really good. Now I can't remember what it's about at all, but I'm going to be reviewing that at the end of June. And then for the Interstellar Book Club, we are going to be doing Rose House by Arkady Martine. This is a book about a house run by an AI, I think. It's funny that this is the book that I put forth because I'm not super into AI, but I really liked her other book, The Memory Called Empire. I didn't love it, but I really thought that she was really a brilliant writer and very, very, intelligent, and so I'd be interested to see how this goes. Also, I always put forth novellas. So that's what's happening in June. I might get some other things thrown in there. I don't know. I hope not, because I am already packed to the brim with books. But let me know in the comments what your favorite book was that you read in May, and what you're looking forward to in June.